Dude, that's a tank.
Yeah, it's not a bad fish.
That's a great fish.
I don't know if they can see the little one. Certainly can see the big one.
Risk, reward, and the silly concept of trophy. These are the themes I wrestle with on the eve of this adventure.
Wow. That's incredible.
The whispers of trophy golden trout swimming somewhere in the Wind River Range fill the daydreams of fishy folk the world over. Shrouded by secrecy and protected by peaks, this is a destination that will capture any angler's attention but demand your utmost respect. Biting bugs will beat you senseless, and finding oxygen is a labored task. Found only where the heavens touch the clouds, the only direction you can go is up. And I mean this when I say your threshold for suffering will be your only barrier to entry. And understandably so, you may find yourself wondering, is this pilgrimage really worth it?
Yeah, we about died yesterday. It was one of those things that was like, okay, we got to camp, sat down, we're like, is this worth it? Is it really worth it? And I think this answers the question.
Folks, this is going to be 5 days deep in the Wyoming backcountry hunting for the biggest golden trout in the world.
I need a nap.
No. Go pop those lights.
Yep.
It's all in the truck already.
Teaches the shit stuff. But if someone
Vacant blacktop and heavy ice seem to be how most of these trips begin. And that pump, it ran up a pretty penny, but this set of early birds were finally ready to fly. We had quite a bit of trail to cover before the sun would grace the dashboard in the east, and I know what you might be thinking. Who in their right mind would get up this early just to go fish? And I know, a little weird, but cut me some slack, folks. The planning portion of the meat hang is never a perfect science. Much like a seasoned chef, I have to take the ingredients given to me and make something palatable. Long story short, where I was staying in Idaho at the time was a decent jumping off point purely due to the fact that Kowalski could fly into Idaho Falls. Plus, this allowed us to have a few days to prep our gear as well as cleaning up our roll cast a bit before the initial trip. So, taking all that into consideration, the drive down to the Wind River Range would still be about a 5-hour white knuckle nightmare, but it was doable. And with this being a long haul, I had the pedal down hard, so it was a miracle we didn't miss it. But I must say, it was weird to pass through the mecca of mountain life LARPing and not see a single clown running around the circus. No Teslas were to be found, and not a stitch of Patagonia to be seen. Just the iconic stack of antlers, and I'm happy Kowalski at least got to see that. But like the other mountain towns, Jackson Hole ate our dust as the glow of a new day graced the dashboard. All in all, we were making really good time. Now, I may sound a bit negative on this drive in, but that's not my goal. Getting to see Teton and the greater Yellowstone ecosystem slowly start to glow was nothing short of a treat. The views were stunning, and with empty roads, the drive was actually quite fun. And by some stroke of luck, we spotted a cow moose with her calf when we pulled over for a quick piss break just outside of Teton. But there was no rest for the wicked, so we didn't gawk at them long. We had miles to chase and meat hangs to cover. I can't say why, but it always seems to happen on a drive-in. Kowalski and I, we have this bad habit of reliving meat hangs of past before the next one's about to happen, and it always starts the same way. Kowalski will go, "What year did that happen again?" Or I'll say, "Do you remember how bad that day was?" And without fail, we will somehow do a chronological breakdown of every single moment from all our trips over the past few years. And for those unaware, a tad bit of context may be required. The name Meat Hang originates from some silly YouTube video of a guy literally hanging meat. Kowalski and I were absolutely captivated. I can remember him saying, "Yo, that meat, it's just hanging, bro. Is that what we should call the trip?" And I can remember specifically laughing my ass off and saying, "Meat hang? I mean, I guess. There's no way it'll actually become a thing." Famous last words, right? And of course, the name has so much more meaning to Kowalski and I now, because what was once a dumb inside joke has become an established tradition. This annual meeting has taken us far and wide in the pursuit of fish and lots of Type 2 fun. And truth be told, it's almost hard to imagine all we've been able to accomplish so far. But you still might be left wondering, where did all this nonsense start? And it wasn't filmed, but the very first meat hang was a certified classic in the wilds of eastern Idaho. Lots of fish and many good memories, enough so that we decided to run it back. Now, full transparency, this trip started out on such a high note because we were not ready for Meat Hang 2020.
Hello. Mic check 1 2.
How are they sounding?
Crispy.
That breakfast burrito was our fishy oracle because after 6 days in New Mexico, we were both left bruised and burned. Meat Hang 2020 was dubbed the Rio Grind for a good reason. Now, despite the constant grinding, we were still able to find some absolutely incredible fish and make another year's worth of lifelong memories in the land of enchantment. Plus, we had so much fishy karma built up, next year's had to be better, right?
Dude, that's freaking right. Yes. Let's go.
But what happened in Colorado? Oh boy, did we get a colorful blindside, and it all started out so well. This disaster, it was hidden behind a magic valley fully loaded with thick slices of certified Texas toast, but before we could butter our biscuits, Kowalski contracted a waterborne parasite and, well, he almost died. And even though the trip got cut a day short, you still have to look at this glass half full because by all metrics, this was an amazing trip. Now, of course, this is the oversimplified, kind of Spark Notesy version of each of these trips, but hopefully this gives you a better idea of what this trip is and why we're doing what we're doing.
I think gas is cheaper here.
Really?
So much happens each and every time, and it was amazing to think that all the planning for this year's meat hang had led us up this winding mountain road into foreign country. 5 hours later, we had finally touched down in the promised land. Folks, welcome to the Wind River Range. Sitting stiff-legged in a car for 5 hours before a killer hike like this isn't ideal by any means, and a quick stretch before final gear check was the most we could muster up to properly prep the legs. Those straps of our packs bit down for the first time as we headed towards the trailhead marker, and a few scribbles later, our 5-day trip into the Wind River Range had officially begun. The concept of pace is of the utmost importance on an adventure like this. With the weight of the packs, time on trail, and overall elevation gain, you cannot blow your wad in the first 6 miles. There are multiple times where Kowalski and I would take turns barking at each other to simply slow down. And this is where having a companion to keep you in check is really important, and it's so easy to let the excitement of a trip increase your pace to an almost unsustainable rate, and gassing out miles away from our destination would just not be an option, so we kind of had to take it slow.
Well, you know how I feel about this.
Once we did find our trail legs, we set into a nice groove. With stamina levels still high, we could take a bit more time to look around and enjoy the region's flora and fauna on full display. The hue of the swaying wildflowers would grab at the eye while we passed by, and we didn't see as many critters as I had originally expected, but signs of ample fish food were crawling across every rock, and I'm sure the further from the trailhead we got, the better chance we'll have of encountering some bigger critters. The relatively stable grade of this boardwalk would end up being our last unperceived luxury of the day. After this, the trail made a sharp turn and the jagged zigzag of the switchbacks began. This gnarly uphill was set to be our first true test, and it's times like this where pace is paramount. Thankfully, our legs were still fresh enough to rock and roll up and over this obstacle without any breaks, and the swift gusts that hit our face assured us that this uphill battle, it was over, for now at least.
Wow. Wow. Dude, look at that.
Now that's a mountain.
That is a mountain, sir.
Tail lights at the top of that.
The smile that tugs at your cheeks when you see something like this, it's just so innate. Like, this feeling, it has to be carved into your soul. The re-energizing vista, it gave us a massive boost of morale as we started to snake down the backside of this ridge. And with the wind at our backs and the sun now high in the sky, we were moving at quite an impressive pace. Now, don't get me wrong, we were still maintaining proper stamina, but with sweat persisting, we both agreed that it was high time we lose the bags for a bit and take our first break. Because of Kowalski's nearly fatal interaction with a waterborne parasite last year, we decided to take a different route with water on this trip. And to preface, I will say, this company does not sponsor us and they did not want to collaborate when I did reach out. So, as much as I hate offering up a free shout out, it's well deserved. We used the Grail this entire trip for all our drinking water. It was extremely easy to use and offered up a fast solution to purified water in the backcountry.
You can drink that now. I just drank the full ones.
Oh, sick, thanks.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep this empty? Just keep going?
Let's do one more round of drinks.
Each?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just like split half. Make sure we're extra hydrated.
Yeah.
I want to hold as much energy as I can until.
And the body in motion.
Yeah.
Stays in motion. Let's see if we can find an all trout. You can cross, just get your momentum over. Nice. And that's easy, dude, you got that.
Once we found the trail again, we got hit with one of the more upsetting parts of this trail. And going down in the moment, that wasn't really the issue. Actually, this downhill, it was pretty easy, but I can remember my forehead getting hot and openly cursing this never-ending slide down to the valley. My thoughts, they were shifting more to a few days down the road when we would have to tackle this seemingly insurmountable uphill section yet again. And if my calculations were correct, we would be beaten up from this trip and on super low rations. And I just knew this was going to be trouble in our future.
I'm just kind of, honestly, I'm happy to be done with that downhill.
Yeah.
That just pissed me off the whole time.
You have to go back up.
First order of business might be to try and get a fire going. Just so that we can put up camp in peace. If we have some smoke going, it should get those bugs away.
Anxious conversation was chewed like cud, and the details of once we arrived at camp were seemingly overanalyzed. I mean, we had nothing better to do. We were still hostage to this trail for a few more hours, but before we could continue on, we desperately needed another break.
Be sparing with that, because that's all we got as far as bug spray. When we get smoke going, we'll be fine.
Do you want to refill?
I'm not done with it yet. There's still some left down there. Not after that showing. Yeah, I'll see you in 10.
After this brief nap, I mean, if you can even call it that, we marched on in somewhat of a blur. The strain of this pack-in had really hit us both hard, and the joints were starting to ache under the weight. Creek crossings and clearings seemed to pass by like apparitions in my peripherals. With the path finally leveling out a bit, we needed to find camp, and we needed to find it quick, because what we had thought was going to be an 11-mile hike had turned into a 14-mile grind. We didn't have much left to give.
Yeah, we can, I'd rather sit on that. than that, probably.
Yeah.
So we can move the fire pit. The crushing weight was finally lifted, but there was no rest for the wicked. We had quite a bit of choring to do before we could fully enjoy our new home. We split up, and I got started moving the fire pit a bit closer to the sitting rock. While I wrestled with that, Kowalski collected some of the dead wood that surrounded our camp. Once the pit was complete, I did my best to process the pile he had hauled over, and there wasn't much talking going on. Outside of grunts and sighs, the air was relatively silent, and the only break would be the occasional pop of a dry stick. It may not show through the lens, but you can rest assured knowing we were absolutely exhausted. But we couldn't stop for a considerable break until we had a fire. We needed smoke. This was truly adding insult to injury because these biting bugs were assaulting us from every single angle. My name's Mike. I'm just calling today because I'm gonna be doing some backpacking in the Wind River Range. But I just wanted to call. I've got a couple questions with regards to some of the conditions out there, and want to see if you can help me out with that. The nice ranger lady I called prior to this trip was not kidding when she said these bugs were bad. Okie doke. All right. Well then, I will pack some extra bug spray. All right. Awesome. With how much standing water is present in the winds, the mosquitoes had plenty of space to swarm, feed, and breed. But thanks to dry wood, building a fire might have been the easiest part of our day.
You know, it's almost fire season when it's almost too easy to make a fire.
The sound of the smolder and smell of the smoke was truly a godsend as the gray haze surrounded our camp. The bugs buzzed off for a bit, and we could now comfortably focus on other camp activities without the fear of major blood loss. Grading out a proper platform to place the tent was the next task on the docket, and it proved to be seriously time-consuming work, but again, it needed to be done. So while I toiled away and tamped everything down, Kowalski was creekside filling up the water bladder for future use, and he must have had to geopress that no less than 10 times to fill that sucker all the way up. Water is something you can never have enough of out here, and I'm quite happy he tackled that project. Things were finally starting to come together, and this little patch of dirt was turning out to be a fine little camp. And the major camp check marks were flying off our list, and getting clean was next.
The snake gas needed, and then we can rock the rest.
With how minimal we had to pack, we each only had one extra set of clothes. So, one to wash and dry, while the other one gets stinky and sweaty. Since laundry was complete, and I was in the neighborhood, I figured a quick streamside scrub would help shock the aching muscles and subdue the stank of a long, long day. And I'm being honest when I say I actually enjoyed it. Once I sat in there for a little while, it wasn't that bad, but Kowalski, he did not feel the same.
Yeah, I just want you all to know what he just did. Not cool. No. I will not do what he did. I don't care how dirty I am. I'll wash my face, I'll wash my feet and my arms.
It's mind over matter.
I don't do cold water like that.
Clean, dry, and warm clothes never felt better. After the day we had and the considerable shock to the system, both physically and mentally, the smallest of comforts were amplified in a major way. We continued on with the last of the camp chores, but for the most part, we were both slowing down rather fast, and I think the only thing keeping us awake at this point would be the pangs of empty stomachs desperately in need of something more calorically dense than just a Cliff Bar. So, it was finally time to start cooking.
Drying off my shoes.
They kind of died down there for a second.
Kowalski?
I'm tired. I'm ready for dinner.
It's been a long one.
Today was pretty intense, honestly.
Video probably doesn't show it, does it?
No, I mean, our 30 seconds of B-roll isn't really going to do the freaking 15 miles we did today justice.
Yeah.
That was a lot of up and down some mountains there.
What are your feelings, body-wise and mental-wise?
Shoulders pretty sore, especially my left one.
Yeah.
The rest of me was pretty good. Feet are a little sore, obviously. I mean, we walked a lot today. So
Yeah.
I think by tomorrow we'll be ready.
Should
Get some
be.
brekkie, we'll get some fish.
Well, Kowalski gave his check-in, and I don't know if I'm doing much better. My shoulders and my hips are just absolutely obliterated, and my feet, they took a beating today. But the sun, it's still got a little bit of time left, so does the food. And yeah, that fire's crackling. We had to grind every day. This was, I think we talked about this, and it might be due to exhaustion, but this could be possibly one of the hardest things we've ever done, I've ever done.
We had just enough food rationed out to quell the pain of gurgling stomachs, at least for tonight. But there was no doubt in my mind we would both still be in a deep caloric deficit. And going into this trip, we knew weight was going to be a major issue. I mean, you saw how far we had to hike, and because of that, we cut out as much food weight as we possibly could. And between two dudes over the length of this trip, this was quite the gamble.
All right, Chef, what's on the menu tonight?
Got chicken teriyaki with some mashed potatoes. I'm just gonna mix them up and let
Down
it
the
all go
hatch.
down the same hole.
Oh, yeah.
In the protection of campfire smoke, we wolfed down every single grain of rice. I know good and well we could have probably eaten twice as much as what was offered, but at least we weren't going to bed hungry. And I will say, after dinner, things slowed down to a snail's pace, and the day had now caught up and well overrun us at this point, and no matter how nice the warmth of the fire felt, we both could barely keep our eyes open. So we retreated into the neon green fortress while the sun was still shining, and within minutes, we were both sound asleep.
Gucci game.
The hangover of our hike had set in rather hard, and waking up, it was downright painful. The snooze button had been smashed multiple times, and now we were running a bit late, so we couldn't dilly-dally anymore. We needed to get up and get moving. Kowalski got to work on breakfast while I patched myself up. With the constant wet, cold, dry, hot cycle my feet receive, I tend to get some flat tires every now and then, and the thick calluses around my big toe had completely split apart at some point in the night, and not only was it painful, but that big of a wound on the feet, that is just asking for an infection. And in my opinion, the best infield solution to this is super glue. And it may sound funny, but it certainly works to plug up any unwanted holes and start the healing process. I mean, at least in the short term. So, while the glue dried in the morning light, I got to rigging up the rods for today's fishing adventure.
It's morning time. We're not tired. And we're ready to catch fish.
You must be used to getting fed there, buddy, huh? Not afraid of us.
With final fishing gear checks out of the way, we said goodbye to our new camp friend and headed towards the trail. There was no way we could see the lake from this low, but we set our sights somewhere high above the alpine and buckled down. The ankles and knees, they were a tad rusty, and the bite of the morning air, it made this hike somewhat uncomfortable, but this is what we signed up for. There was no turning back now. I knew there were 2 confirmed golden trout lakes in this particular drainage, and after a bit of discussion, we both agreed to spend our first day here at the bigger of the 2 lakes. So we banked right at the fork and slowly started our climb up. And with the trail this remote, it sees little traffic in a given year. Once we separated from the evergreen, we both had to keep a keen eye out for Karens just to not stray away from the path. So, say what you want about them, but without those little stacks of stone, there would be no doubt in my mind that we would have had a lot harder of a hike up to this lake.
Well, shoot, morning.
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 How's it going?
Oh, it's going.
Yeah?
Can't complain about this.
You guys packing out?
Yeah.
Shoot, how's the fishing?
That's good.
Yeah,
Lots of fish.
this is absolutely insane.
Howdy.
It's going well. I guess we're doing the old tag, or the passing of the baton.
Yep, exactly.
Holy cow.
You guys have a safe hike back.
It's worth the walk, though. It's good.
Yeah, we about died yesterday. It was one of those things that was like, okay, we got to camp, sat down, we're like, is this worth it? Is it really worth it? And I think this answers the question.
Since we are so far removed from civilization, it took us a bit by surprise to see a big group of campers at the top of the world. Clearly, this lake was not a secret, but hey, I was fine with that. Walking down to the rocky lake shore, we immediately saw what we were looking for. Not only were there schools of golden sliding by, but we saw some massive specimens. One in particular had such a pronounced beak and dwarfed all the other fish it swam with. It must have been the biggest fish in the lake, and after this display, it was so hard to buck the impulse to jump in right there and start fishing. But we both wanted to give our new hiker friend some distance to pack out in peace. Plus, this lake was massive, so I told Kowalski that we ought to go hike down to the inlet stream and at least give it a look. Usually, when I fish high alpine lakes like this, inlet and outlet streams hold the most active fish. Unfortunately for us, when we finally managed to maneuver our way to what seemed to be the inlet, there was absolutely no fish. In fact, there was barely even a trickle. Kind of a disappointing excuse for an inlet stream, if you ask me. With that uncertainty now out of the way, we had wasted a big chunk of lake time. We needed to turn around and head back in the direction of the outlet where we had spotted fish earlier.
Well, there's 40 here.
Oh, dude.
No fucking broke me off. Careful now. Don't horse him.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That is one of the most beautiful fish I've ever seen in my life.
Let's freaking go, dude. That is what we came for, man. Holy cow.
Bucket list trout.
I mean, that's a bucket list trout. That's insane. The setting, it doesn't get any better than this, man. Woo! Oh.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what got us our first golden trout of the trip. Going for gold, mission accomplished. But I want to kind of highlight this fly. So we've been struggling this morning, trying to figure them out. I mean, we got here late and the sun was already up. It was a little bit kind of choppy, and that's not what you want for lake fishing. So we've got our 9'5" weight. This is a good middle ground rod for getting out, but then also being able to cast delicate dry flies like this. And we got back to the outlet, and Kowalski said, dude, I just saw one get crushed. And he said, a little green bug, can't really tell what, and we tied on a little green bug, and that's kind of what got hit. And
We've had some bites, but that was our first like take to the net, and just like, dude, it does not get any better than this. But now it's time for Kowalski to get one. Cast it again a bit further on the outside.
I got one cruising towards it.
I see him. Oh! Did you see that?
Yeah.
Ah! Woo! She whipping, baby. Cast. Did you see where it came up?
Oh, you see that one?
Yeah, dude, that's
a chocolate.
that was a freaking. Same with the one on the left.
This is where the ebbs and flows of lake fishing can be quite frustrating, and part of me thinks it's due to the wind picking up, but these fish, they seem completely uninterested in the dry fly we were throwing, where earlier they were chasing and even biting. Plus, I mean, at this point, we had pounded the water pretty good, so that could be part of it too, just being that they were onto our shenanigans.
Come on, let's give him a break. We've harassed him pretty good. We can come back, switch up, get a game plan.
We moseyed on up that sunny hillside and found a big boulder to cozy up next to. After getting in the water and being exposed to wind all morning, I was chilled to the bone, so any and all shelter from this unending wind was nothing short of a treat. The slim rations for lunch and a bit of water helped to get a little bit of feeling back in my hands, but overall, I wasn't feeling great. I couldn't shake how uncomfortable this lake was making me. There was no way we could only muster up one fish, especially with how many we could just reach out and grab. Something had to change, or we might be leaving this lake sooner than expected.
Let's take those guys off.
Well, we want to keep the dual drives for the creek. Get it on the dry dropper rig.
We'll catch them on the dry dropper for sure. Do you think something like that, maybe? Yes! Yes! That's a good one. Holy shit. Holy shit, Kowalski. Holy shit. Oh my god, that's a big fish! Oh my god! Dude,
We did it.
that's the biggest fish in the lake.
I need a bigger net.
I know. With this one, we need a bigger net. Holy shit.
That's a trophy. That's a trophy golden trout.
I'm so happy right now.
Oh my god.
You.
Kowalski, what the hell?
I am pumped right now.
What the hell, dude?
This is a tank.
That's insane. Let's get him back in.
With that certified trophy back in the water, we were both floating on cloud 9. This is why you come to the Wind River Range, folks, but now the question stood. Was that just a fluke? Or was changing up to the leech really the play?
Holy cow, dude, that was insane!
Let's go.
Oh my gosh.
I don't need to catch fish the rest of the
Most
fucking trip.
people go their entire lives and will never see a fish like that. Should we keep hammering them?
Literally, right before Kowalski hooked up with that fish, we were discussing plan Bs and potentially leaving this lake for good. It only took a few more casts to find the answer that we were looking for. The bite window was truly open.
Need help?
Yep, I got it. Yes, what the heck, dude? We were just about to leave.
Although it is a little nice with the wind up because the skeeters went away.
Yeah, I can dig that. There we go.
Oh, yeah. He's a nice one.
Oh.
No.
Keep going. You can just see the big ones going after it. It's crazy. That's a good fish.
Well, that is a good fish.
Yes.
Atta boy.
We're on him, man. What the hell?
8-ball corner pocket is exactly where you want to see that fire truck pinned. With another absolutely beautiful fish back in the water, it was time to do the old switcheroo and have Kowalski find a few more for himself.
I'm gonna cast along the bank there. Traveling boys now. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's fish.
Nice one.
Here, I got you this.
I overextended myself just a little bit.
Nice.
But we got him.
You tell he's been caught before.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of crooked smile. It's a beautiful fish though, dang.
Alright, let's get for the go.
These fish were so fired up and couldn't be less bothered by the disturbance of their fighting friends. In order to remain somewhat stealthy, we made sure to move down the lakeshore every once in a while to catch new cruising fish.
Nice. I got him. You can bring him over. It is hilarious how aggressive these fish are being. Nice. Nice old tubby little guy. Yeah.
It was quite the incredible turnaround because we had these fish seemingly dialed in and there was no way we were about to let the pressure off. And really, there wasn't anything too complicated about what we were doing. Major clumps of fish would be schooling and cruising various points and drop-offs within eyeshot of the bank.
Wow, that is yet another beautiful golden. Holy cow. See you.
All it took was a well-placed cast just outside of these schooling fish, give it a second or two to drop and a few steady strips, and almost every single cast, a flash of red lightning would come cruising from the depths in pursuit of our measly offerings.
Yeah, I see why this is not considered a trophy golden trout lake.
Oh my gosh, did you see that one?
Now that is a classic golden trout right there. We've kind of, I don't know, just found a random, sporadic, crazy bite. Streamers, it's electric, and this has made the day so worth it. But we're about to let this guy back, and yeah, keep at him.
For the next half hour or so, things slowed down considerably. With the bite window closing in front of our eyes, we were lucky Kowalski found one last golden trout for the day.
Oh, yes! Oh, that was so cool. I saw that one.
He came from a ways to get that one.
Yeah, I know, that was sweet.
Yeah, he's the low guy.
Great fish, though. Holy cow.
I'm gonna get, oh, look at his belly.
Yeah, he's beautiful. We need to get some shots.
With the fever pitch pace we ran, there was never a good time to stop and explain what exactly we were using. Luckily, I figured something like this would happen, so I made sure to prepare in advance. Well, hopefully if you guys are seeing this, that means Kowalski and I are catching some fish on this fly. And I want to talk about this fly just a little bit more, but first I just have to note, I'm going to be running the video on how to actually tie it down below, so just use that as a blueprint, don't follow the exacts. But this is a bit more complex, and it's easier for me to talk about this while I'm in a static environment rather than on the water, going balls to the wall, trying to catch every single trout in the lake. But this pattern is a perfect representation of a lot of the bigger nymphs that you're gonna find in high mountain lakes. We're talking dragonflies, damselflies, even some sorts of crane flies. And a stretch would be that you could even, you could mistake this for a juvenile trout or a leech. It covers a wide range, but it's just a bit more buggy than our basic leech patterns. With those rubber legs, a little bit of crystal flash, the two-tone on the zonker strips. We're using a little bit less zonker than our leech patterns, but still it has it in there just to make it nice and buggy and then kind of give the contrast to the two colors. But this is a more natural style, the brown and the green. This is a killer pattern. And yeah, tungsten bead with the jig hook. This thing gets down, and the fish just mop it up. So hopefully you can see why you would tie a couple of these up a few months in advance like I'm doing now. And yeah, they work, man. So Kowalski, Mike, back to you guys. Catch some more fish.
The goodest of times with the goodest of bros.
Oh, you had a good day.
Great day. No, I still don't, that fish, I don't think you.
Is it the best day of meeting
No.
so far?
No.
No?
No, because we still have more days to go. Should we geopress one more time?
Yeah, it would be a great idea to geopress before we dump.
This is about a half.
It's truly amazing how much difference an hour can make. Leaving this little lake, spirits were high and we were truly triumphant. This day would have looked so different if we actually decided to pull the plug right before Kowalski caught that giant. It's almost like having patience is a virtue when it comes to this silly thing we call fly fishing. Imagine that, folks. Our spirits stayed high even though we were heading back down to lower elevations, and just because we left the lake didn't mean our day of fishing was over. Quite the contrary, actually. It could be argued that the real fishing had just begun because the stakes, they were now much, much higher. Our stomachs, they were still very much empty, and it was paramount we find some fresh fish for dinner.
Alright, let's get to it.
All right, we're back at camp. Got kind of settled. Got half a Cliff Bar.
Yep, feeling good.
Now it's time to go find some dinner.
Yep, Brookies are on the menu tonight, so let's cook it up, baby.
With all the planning that goes into a trip like this, almost every single action taken has a very real purpose. Making camp so close to this little creek would be one example out of many. Not only would it grant us easy access to fresh water for drinking and bathing, but it was full of crispy brook trout nuggets. We just hadn't caught them yet. This type of fishing could not be much more different than what we were doing at the lake. Small stream fishing, it's an absolute blast, that's a fact, and it's not as dependent on bite windows like the fish we were targeting earlier today. I'm sure it's quite rare for these brookies to see more than a handful of anglers in a given growing season, so more often than not, when they see something that even closely resembles food, they're gonna do their best to eat it, because they have to. All in all, we had only worked up a small section of creek, and anywhere that looked fishy either meant a fish was caught or at least a bite or two, and more often than not, we were offered up a second and even third chance to bag that brookie. Our bag was starting to get some weight to it now, and at this next bend, I was met with a wonderful, wild surprise.
Oh! It's a golden! Yeah! Wasn't ready for that.
Since we literally had bigger fish to fry already in the bag, this wild golden, it wouldn't have made much of a meal, so he flopped back and we moved on. With limited pressure from angling and almost zero natural predators, culling these overcrowded brookie streams is almost necessary to a point. We weren't keeping every single fish we caught. Anything small or skinny we would just put back so that it would have a chance to dry another day. And this is a rare win-win for us anglers because we were able to eat more and have more meat on them without constantly having to crunch bones, and now with more space available in the stream, some of the smaller trout could grow larger. But with that last brookie, we were going to have more than enough to eat, and it was time to head back to camp and get cooking.
Alright, mission accomplished. The fish are getting taken care of right now, cleaned up. Kowalski's doing that whole deal. Right now, it is time for me to get a fire going, because as you can see, maybe by the mask, it is buggy as all get out. So we need a little bit of smoke to help dissipate the clouds of mosquitoes.
Since I knew we would be doing a fair bit of cooking over the next few nights, I took it upon myself to process and stockpile a fair bit of wood. I was able to use this angled rock just next to camp as the perfect pressure point to break the wood without much effort.
Alright, if you season, cook, I'll get the water going.
With the subtle stockpile stacked up for the night, all that was left to do was cook, and we didn't focus too much on filming the cooking, at least not of this batch of brookies, because this was technically supposed to be the test run. Kowalski promised me we could film it tomorrow if they turned out good. And you might be able to tell, but the lens can only say so much. But trust me when I say, these were the crispiest brook trout nuggets this side of the Wind River.
They happy with how they turned out?
Yeah.
The clothes hung to dry while the bear bag was raised high. Last camp checks were under order, while the glowing coals, they began to smolder. Folks, our second day here in the winds was officially over, and even though it was a tad early, laying down on that pillow, it was much deserved.
It was a good day.
Great day.
Fantastic day, honestly.
Hard to beat. Sorry we weren't as active in showing the evening activities. We're tired, and we're probably hungry. But the brook trout were really good.
They turned out really good.
So, we'll see you guys, I guess, in the next one, or tomorrow, or whatever this ends up being. So, peace.
Morning.
I'm tired.
The sun was fast to rise while we slowly rubbed the sand from our eyes. It was cold. Mountain mornings like this make even the smallest of movements feel like a damn marathon, but regardless of our feelings, it was time to complete our morning chores before we could muscle through a frozen brick that was meant to be breakfast. Now, chipped teeth aside, just getting a tiny bit of food in the belly helped warm up the extremities just enough before our day officially began.
Alright, clock says 6:30, the sun is coming up, and we're a little tired. We're learning from yesterday. We're trying to get on the lake as early as possible, and I think we've got ourselves a much better start, a couple hours better start. So we're gonna get on the trail and get to our next destination, so let's go. In my wildest dreams, there would be a website dedicated.
And so, in the shadow of the sun, we set our sights somewhere above the alpine, much like the day before, and locked in for another hike.
I know, I see that.
I would say, as of right now, meat hang was going exactly to plan. And any of you out there who plan the logistics on a trip of this magnitude, you guys know how abnormal this is. We found a great deal of success at the first lake, and now it was time to branch out. Instead of zigging, we're gonna zag towards a completely different drainage. And based on reports and studying maps, the lake at the top was gonna vary slightly from what we saw yesterday. This lake, it seemed to be a bit more exposed, and the map showed a much more pronounced outlet stream. Based on this hike alone, it seemed like we were gaining around the same elevation as the day before. We must have gained close to 1,000 feet, and yet again, we were brushing the top of the world.
This place is so heckin' cool. Way better than Kansas.
I think we might be smooth sailing from here.
With the rapid staircase left behind, our path finally leveled out, and breaking out of the tree line, we were both shocked to see how different this landscape looked. And as the crow flies, these lakes, they couldn't have been but a few miles apart, but instead of boulder fields and porous-lichen beds, this flat valley was filled with knee-high shrubs and scattered pockets of pines. But there was more than just that. The dimples in the outlet stream seemed to be another drastic departure from its sister system just a stone's throw away. With the size of most of these splashes, it was clear that this stream supported some sort of natural reproduction. These little trout, they were rather enthusiastic and did their absolute best to make hay while the sun shined, and as much as we wanted to toss a cast in their direction, we both knew it would be paramount to get to the main lake as soon as possible. The morning bite had a certain shelf life, and we still needed time to figure these fish out.
We did it, we made it. Here we are. She opens up a bit, huh? That's why within range. All right, this is saving our lives right now. We're getting absolutely mollywopped by these mosquitoes.
Are terrible.
Yep. Yeah, these skins are just for bug protection alone are game changers.
As you can see, just having an extra layer of protection was life-saving. Every single mosquito on this lake was looking at us like an all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet, and it was hard enough trying to rig up the rods with cold nubs for fingers without having to simultaneously battle clouds of ravenous bugs. Luckily, I had made a handful of quick rig leaders weeks in advance, which helped save loads of time. Between the dwindling dimples on the lake's surface and the swarming skeeters dive bombing any exposed skin, we had to get moving, and we had to get moving quick. And as luck would seem to have it, as soon as we hit the main lake, the wind turned our once glassy surface into a serious chop. So we scurried around a protected cove where the water still looked reasonably flat. Clearly, this was the play because it didn't take long to spot our first cruising fish on the day. And what happened next, it would be hard to believe if we didn't have video proof. So any and all watching, buckle up.
He's right behind this rock. See him? Okay. I don't know if he saw us or not, but he's kind of yeeting. This is kind of a precarious spot.
He's fighting.
This is a good fish. Yes!
Wow. That's a nice fish.
Yeah, buddy.
You can tell he's an old boy.
It looks nice to get that off the...
Yeah, at least off the docket, yeah. One, he didn't hesitate. He did not even hesitate. So I've got the underwater GoPro in this pocket.
Okay. I can also use mine. Look to your look.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God,
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Holy shit, that's a big fish. Oh my God.
That's massive.
That's a big fish.
If you look closely, you can pick up a submarine-like figure sliding through the grassy flat. Kowalski turned off his GoPro and grabbed the other rod, and as soon as I started recording, well, all hell broke loose.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Kowalski. That was insane. I know. Oh my God, that's another giant fish, dude. Easy does it, easy does it, easy does it. Oh, get him out of there, get him out of there. We've got heavy tippet on there. You can horse him. Come on, Kowalski, come on, baby. Get his head up, get his head up, get his head up. Get him up, get him up, get him up. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Come on, baby. You're doing well. Just get him out of those rocks, get him out of those rocks, get him out of those rocks, Kowalski. Get him out. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh my gosh! Dude, golden doubles! Oh my gosh!
That is huge!
That's a tank fish, dude!
Let's go!
Holy shit!
Wow!
Oh my God!
Oh, goodness gracious.
That's a basket of gold.
Dude, he fought so hard too.
That was insane. That was absolutely insane. Hold him out, hold him out.
Hell yeah.
Okay, all right, he is gonna go back. See you, buddy. All right, now.
Oh my goodness,
Now
dude.
it's all you, man. It's all you.
Oh, dude, that is so sick.
Oh my gosh.
Kowalski, that is a trophy. I think that's a hybrid. You can kind of see the stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hybrid, but he's
chonked,
massive.
dude. Oh my god, that was fun.
That's insane. That's a massive fish, bro. Dude,
Hell
that is
yeah.
so insane. All right, I'm gonna close up on him.
Look at that tail.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a close up on him too.
Nope.
Oh, easy.
Oh my goodness gracious, dude.
Did you see what he was doing? He was like munching the bottom. He was munching the bottom.
Hit the water, he turned around
And it was like, oh, what's this? Kowalski!
Oh,
Dude!
I'm so cold right now.
Dude!
Oh,
Do you realize what you've done in 2 days?
I appreciate you.
Do you realize what you've done?
For someone who's like not an avid trout fisherman, like I'm so blessed right now.
This is insane.
Like I am very, 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 very thankful for our adventures. Like,
Hey man,
that's awesome.
You did this, man. You did this.
Oh, wow.
All right, back to where we started. The pandemonium is over, and I'm trying to clean up my rig here. But that, ladies and gentlemen, was a golden trout double. And not only was it a double, it was a trophy double. Because yesterday, put some footage right here, Kowalski caught himself a trophy golden. Come to today, in the pandemonium of it all, I'm getting ready to release this fish. Kowalski spots this thing, and it's a submarine. It's huge. I mean, and we were a little worried too. We hadn't seen much at this lake, but we turned this corner, and then all of a sudden, it just turned on, and he hooked into it. We got him, and it was. That's why you come here. That's why you come here.
As we kept sneaking down the bank, we were not finding the results we were hoping for. As the sun continued to rise, the cruising fish along the bank showed a lot more hesitation to both our dry flies and the leech.
One just rose twice over here.
Which one you want? Dry?
Yeah. So he's gonna be coming off of this big rock right here very soon.
Okay.
I'm gonna go over your head with this.
I'll get down.
See him? He just came up. Oh, he's going for it. Okay, okay. Watch him, watch him, watch him.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want the smoke. Nah, I think we missed him.
Oh, 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 oh! No, he doesn't want the smoke.
The further down the bank we got, Kowalski and I wrestled back and forth with a few running theories as to why these fish were being so finicky.
They're all little teeny tiny bugs. They're just like look at that.
Clumps of spent midges, that would have been a very tasty treat for golden trout to get fat off of, but at the same time, the sun was now getting much higher in the sky, and our crisp morning was now pushing into the afternoon fast.
Oh,
No look.
at it. There's another one coming. Oh, he's going, he's going, he's going, he's going. Oh, he freaking.
You see that?
Yep.
Oh, dude.
He just refused it.
That was a pretty good cast.
Oh, there he is. I'm gonna strip it right to him. He's coming.
Oh, he's chasing. He's chasing. Oh, he took it too.
He took it.
Oh, to your right. Straight ahead of you now.
Oh, I see him.
Straight ahead. Perfect cast. He's going for it. Yep, you got it. Take it. Hook him.
There we go. Great spotting.
Yeah. That's teamwork right there.
That's teamwork.
Oh my God, Mike.
What?
You didn't see it, but like Shamu just surfaced out there.
Whoa, yeah.
You know, he was freaking huge.
Damn.
Oh, there he goes. He ate it off.
Feeling like the second fish might have been a fluke, it was time to rethink our game plan a bit.
Damn, bro. This shit is wild.
But before we got far, the game trail elevated to a lovely perch that allowed us to see the entire lake. Tired and a bit unsure what these fish wanted, this would make for an ideal mid-morning stopping point. Well, I took a deep breath and reclined a bit. I figured this would be a good point again to offer up some context, because y'all might be wondering, why in the world would these two numbskulls be putting in this much effort to find one singular species of trout in a random part of the country? And I think it's obvious that golden trout, they are amazing to look at, and the places that they swim, they're gonna kind of take your breath away as well. And it also helps that these fish, they fight like hell, and they can be tricky to fool at times. These are all admirable qualities in a desired game fish. So again, what's the catch here? And to help kind of explain this, rudimentary economics could be of use here. So let's just say, for example, the supply of a desired product is low. The demand for said product is usually quite high. There's something about scarcity or exclusivity that us humans, we just gravitate towards. And for as long as I have been a trout bum, golden trout have been high on my bucket list, kind of for this exact reason. Almost every single trout bum I run across agrees that these are one of the coolest subspecies of trout, while simultaneously agreeing that they're really hard to find. And because of that, there always seems to be so much secrecy around where you might need to go to catch them. Now, these golden trout might be native to the United States, but realistically, they are extremely hard to find. Contrary to popular belief, golden trout are only native to the Kern Plateau all the way over on the west coast in California. They've been trapped up in that drainage for untold numbers of years now, and they were once believed to be migratory rainbow trout, and their unique lineage is infinitely fascinating and parallels the other rare salmonids that have isolated distributions. And people at home, keep in mind that I am not a biologist or a fisheries historian or whatever you would call it. My understanding of this particular topic is purely that of an enthusiastic angler. But back in the day, when ice ages would ebb and flow, ancestors that resemble the rainbow trout would push their distributions to their absolute limits. Over time, available habitat would either shrink or some cataclysmic shift in tectonic plates would cause resident salmonids to be cut off from their ancestors. And of course, in saying this, I am oversimplifying things by a magnitude of 10, but once you give these fish a couple thousand years to duke it out with old Mother Nature, boom, next thing you know, you have an entirely new species of trout. The oldest example of this would be the rare and beautiful Apache trout native to the White Mountains in Arizona, and just a stone's throw away in the land of enchantment would be another relic of the past. The aptly named Gila trout can be found in isolated canyon streams in the Gila National Forest. So with all this said, where the hell does Wyoming come to this picture? And bear with me, folks, this is where I personally think the story gets really fun. The history of golden trout in Wyoming starts in the early 1900s. These non-native fish were purchased from California's Fish and Game Department and introduced into many of the barren lakes here in the Wind River Range. You know, back in the day when you could just throw lake trout into Yellowstone Lake or brown trout into every stream out east. But I digress. That might be a different story for a different time, but realistically, there wasn't a great deal of rhyme or reason for these actions in most cases, just irresponsible bucket biology. But this decision by Wyoming Game and Fish was a bit less damaging than most because, like I said, most of these lakes, they didn't have fish anyway, and for whatever reason, a few years down the road, California had a change of heart. After a considerable amount of time, they stopped boxing up their state fish and shipping it back east. But luckily for Wyoming, a few lakes hosted conditions similar to that of their native waters, and a broodstock population was established. So that brings us back lakeside to one of almost 140 lakes here in Wyoming that are stocked with remnant populations of these golden trout. And yes, you're hearing me correctly when I say these fish are stocked. Normally this occurs on about a 3-year cycle, if my research is correct, but despite being stocked in these lakes, goldens can live quite well for the better part of 10 years, and they tend to grow quite large. There may not have been trout present prior to their stocking, but most of these lakes hosted a robust insect foundation which is needed to grow these monster fish. That's why the marquee of the Wind River Range is truly trophy-sized trout dwelling in these alpine pockets. Kind of like the 2 fish that Kowalski caught. Unfortunately, most of the lakes that contain goldens have conditions that are just too harsh to see a successful spring spawn. So in most cases, if they aren't put in by Wyoming Game and Fish, they will not propagate a population. And for those of you who are wild trout enthusiasts, never fear, there's still some wild reproduction in certain situations. In the brief time we explored, the only sign of natural reproduction that we came across came in the form of tiny stream-dwelling goldens or the handful of golden trout and rainbow trout hybrids in the lakes that contain mixed species of trout. So hopefully you have a better understanding of why they're swimming in these lakes and why we're here chasing them. And speaking of, let's get back lakeside and chase some more goldens.
Look at those fish, dude. Look at that fish. Look at that fish. Look at that fish. That's a huge fish.
Our first break of the day was suddenly interrupted with a gasp and maybe some foul language. I rubbed my eyes clear as we peered over the edge. From our rocky outcropping, we could see some rather large figures looming just off the bank. Those were some big fish. Kowalski kindly instructed me that it was time to get back to work, so I grabbed my gear and scrambled down.
Where are they? Like in relation to this tree right here? Okay. Let me know when I should start stripping.
I'll let you know. There he came around the rock. Do you see him yet? No. See him just surface right there? No. Okay, he's coming. You're gonna see him here in a second.
Oh, I just saw one surface over there.
No, he's right in front of you, dude. See him? He's right on the other side of that rock, right next to you.
Still have eyes on?
Yep. He's hunting this cove. You went too far past him. Strip it in past. See him? Right on the point of the rock. Yeah, you might not be able to see him now. He's still right on the bank, though.
Did he turn?
Nope, still coming at you.
Gotcha. Okay.
He didn't want any of that. Whew.
I'll be honest, folks, this frustrating trend continued much longer than it should have. They were obviously on some sort of circular feeding pattern, we just couldn't dial them in. Kowalski, he was being a phenomenal spotter from up above, and even though my casting, it was subpar at times, I was getting it right in front of their face, which usually works, but no matter where and how I threw it, they turned their nose every time and kept doing their own thing. And as if to add insult to injury, we kind of made a hasty decision. We decided to leave fish to find fish, which, as you know, is always a big mistake.
Leave it, leave it. Oh.
Mm-mm.
Like I'd mentioned a bit earlier, this lake was night and day different than the one we fished yesterday. Opportunities to fish, they were a lot fewer and far between, and we did quite a bit of walking just to put our flies in front of potential fish. The tough part about this lake is that there was never a distinct point of structure to target. Our first lake, it had steep drop-offs and boulder piles all throughout, and not to mention a very active outlet stream. These slow-sloping grass flats and shallow coves seem to stretch out for 20 or 30 yards into the lake today. Maybe that's why these fish were so spooky. I'm not exactly sure, but with these shallow bays, it had no real structure for these fish to hide, and it might make them easier to target by aerial predators like osprey or eagles. And as a rule, these goldens, they seem to be much more shy when it came to our fly selection. It kind of makes me think they've already seen a few flies this year, or a couple lures at least, because normally, lake fish, they cannot afford to be picky with their food selection. Now, from my prior research, this lake was fabled to be one of the few in the winds with some sort of natural reproduction. And even though these fish aren't pure goldens, they were for sure hybridized with something, be it rainbow trout or cutthroat. But still, these older wild fish, they just weren't buying what we were selling today.
Not too terrible.
This is how high up we are, folks. Still got snow.
And as unfortunate and somewhat speculative as this prognosis may be, we didn't feel too terrible about leaving. We'd both found some fish, and to be honest, we were a bit frustrated with the challenge put in front of us. Luckily, our hike out was nothing but downhill, and once we hit the stream, it was time to relax for a bit and find some lunch.
A little bit of lunch down the hatch, much needed water down as well. We're deciding to, cut our losses early, and we're gonna start working on dinner. So we're gonna get down the mountain here and try and catch some more brookies, because lunch might not be enough. We might need some more.
Fly fishing for stream-dwelling brook trout is nothing short of an absolute blast, and that's just a fact. But in planning for this trip, I made sure to find a drainage that had a brook trout lake as well, aka a dinner lake. On the map, this little lake, it wasn't all that far from where we had fished this morning, so instead of doubling all the way back down to camp, we cut a trail across the mountain. Now it should be said, hiking off trail is never advisable and comes with a fair amount of risk. Kowalski and I, we've both been doing this sort of stuff for quite some time now, and it still makes us slightly uncomfortable. Loose ground, sharp slopes, and shifting boulders are just the tip of the iceberg. A lot can go wrong once you step off that trail, so we made sure to mind our step while we meandered ever closer to our potential dinner.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Slow and steady, man.
I guess. Maybe you could take it real slow.
I really feel like a mule would be a game changer for stuff like this.
Yeah.
With this perfect overlook, we could see the entire lake. Again, Compared to the other lakes in this corner of the winds, it couldn't be much different. It was rather slender, but the deep turquoise told me that it carried some serious depth, and even from this high up, it already looked super fishy.
Oh, I see fish. Hell yeah. Close to the bank too.
Tucked in between the sunken boulders from a rock slide that time surely forgot was a redfin invader that was at the top of our grocery list. This eastern transplant had a rather curious gaze as Kowalski and I approached, and I'm not kidding when I say I could have stuck my hand into the water and given him a friendly boop on the nose. He was acting like one of the fish in my dad's koi pond, and this kind of makes me think this lake doesn't see much traffic. Perched high up on a boulder, Kowalski looked down and saw more than just one. Apparently, we had struck brook trout gold as packs and pairs started to pass by our section of lakefront property in high densities. I couldn't wait and look at them much longer, so I scooped up the rod and got right to work. We needed some fish for our empty creel, but with such high fish densities, it wasn't empty long, I'll tell you that for free. With our dry flies and then our leeches, we could see multiple fish chasing it almost every single cast. This kind of action, it was hot and heavy, and this really helped to boost our morale, especially from our kick in the pants earlier this morning. After I'd managed to find a few more plump char for the bag, I handed the baton off to Kowalski to continue the grocery shopping.
There it is.
There he is. Good boy. Pretty skinny boy. Well, right now, Kowalski and I are at a pretty sweet little brookie lake, but he is too skinny for dinner, so he gets to live. Casting out isn't bad either. And you can roll cast for years with that one. Oh, here's one right here. Cast right here. Cast right here. Strip, 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 strip. He sees it, he sees it. He's going for it. Set, set. Nice, dude.
I didn't even see him.
That's my...
Good thing you don't set.
You might be a little bit better eating. So much bigger than the creek brookies. That's so awesome.
Yeah, those will actually have some meat on them.
Yep.
It might be pretty obvious, but there's no real secret with this type of fishing. The red fins would either give them away and you could directly sight fish, or you just had to bomb a cast out and maintain a steady strip.
We might be able to limit out and then process all these boys right here.
Believe me when I say, they were not picky at all.
Nice chunky nugget.
Seems like a good chunky boy. Meat bucket.
Yeah, you know, we can't maybe take all this spot now.
Yeah, it's time to move.
Probably time to move down.
Oh, that's a big one. Hell yeah.
Pull him in, yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, you can't even tell that. Nice fish, man.
Well, the other brookie that was right next to him was pretty decent too.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's a nice fish.
It just looks like different.
Damn, these brookies be crazy, bro. Are you ready for this fish? Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah. And you know, this is good for this lake. They don't need all these fish. Join your friends, thank you.
Oh, there's one. He's coming, he's coming.
Dude, that was so fucking good. That's like what the first did.
Dang, dude.
It's crazy action today, man.
Oh. One come.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be good eating. That's a big boy. Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, I think so. I can tell you this, my hamstring doesn't hurt anymore.
Oh, there.
There it is.
It's your boy.
That'll finish it out.
It's good eating.
It's good eating. That's a solid day of fishing.
I think so.
You can call it.
I think
Two
that's
more
safe.
and we're like sitting. Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so one more.
So one more.
And,
That's too funny, man.
So people at home, you can kind of see the clouds coming over the horizon there. Kowalski and I are a little bit sussed out by them, and we have far surpassed our want and need for brookies. So we're gonna be eating really well tonight, and yeah, there's no point in pushing it.
At this point, our bag of brookies was darn close to busting at the seams, and it was safe to say we were gonna have plenty for dinner tonight. So while Kowalski got to processing, I figured I ought to stop and talk a bit more about our colored up friends. And it might not seem to be the case, but I promise you when I say I love brook trout just as much as the next guy. I used to chase them in their furthest western native range in places like Iowa or Wisconsin, and I've got buddies back east that catch some of the prettiest trout you've ever seen in your life. I would argue that they're one of my favorite cold water species to chase on the fly. Now, thanks to bucket biology, there isn't great information on when and where these non-native gems were brought from. All that is known is that they were flopped into Wyoming waters somewhere at the turn of the century. But, and this is a big but, Wyoming is nowhere near the native range of Salmo fontinalis. And I feel like there's been a massive overcorrection with this whole catch and release narrative, and I only say this because I used to be one of those hardcore catch and release advocates when I was a budding trout bum. But the more I think about it, the only reason I did this is because Orvis or Trout Unlimited said that I should. So as I've gotten a bit older and a bit hungrier, my perspective has changed just a bit. And if you are a bit skeptical about keeping fish, look at the bag limits for any state west of the muddy Mississippi, and you'll see that non-native trout, like our beloved Brook, are rather high. And I mean high. Barring a small handful of waters, Wyoming has a daily bag limit of 16 per person per day, with no size limit. In both the stream and the lake we fished, you can see firsthand that there is no shortage of these fish. The double-edged sword of brook trout adaptability and dominance is that they can rapidly overpopulate and then stunt an entire fishery, and I personally have seen this time and time again out west. And don't even get me started how much pressure they put on native fish. Moral of the story is that catch and release is good, but so is context, folks. Situations like this are ideal to take a few fish for dinner, and it's truly the perfect win-win for the angler. It improves the overall health of a body of water, and wild brook trout, they might be one of the best tasting freshwater fish you can find. So when you come out west, don't forget your Creole folks. While we made our way back, Kowalski and I were both amazed how close this lake was to our camp. On paper, it seemed like a bit of a haul, especially because there was no marked trail to reach it. But no trail was really no problem. This high up, there seemed to be a serious lack of underbrush, and my guess is that with such short growing seasons, most plants have a tough time existing up here. This made it extremely easy for us to find a handful of crisscrossing game trails to follow all the way back home.
Oh my lands.
Now it must be said that the first few seconds absolutely suck, but after another long day out in the elements, the cold water felt amazing on the muscles and possibly made us stink a little less.
Well, bath time was much needed, and now we're gonna go into camp chores. We got some basic camp stuff to do, like take care of the tent. We're gonna get a fire going. The fish are chilling in the creek right now, so that's nature's refrigeration right there. They're gonna be fine and yeah, ready to be cooked. But let's get to going. We've got a couple things to do before we can eat.
With how nasty these bugs were, fire and smoke was again at the top of our priority list.
Vaseline and cotton balls.
Nothing better.
Much like before, the easiest part of our day was getting that wood to catch fire. With that finally out of the way, I got to messing with some of the electronics while Kowalski hung up the wet clothes to dry.
So as Mike's probably narrated by now, the mosquitoes are really, really bad.
They're the worst.
So we made the conscious decision to wear our neoprene backcountry skins
Backcountry skins.
today, and that probably saved our lives. Thick enough the mosquitoes can't bite through, but they're also super breathable.
And warm.
And warm, so especially the morning hike. But
yeah,
getting not eaten alive by mosquitoes on our legs and then just doing our arms, that was the ticket today.
Yeah.
Especially with the lake we were at. Whew. They were bad.
That was bad.
So yeah, backcountry skins, thank you.
Shout out.
And since we had a few more nights left and we were back early enough, we got to hauling and processing more wood for future fires.
There you go. I don't know if that'll break any more than that.
Nope.
This right here is the best way I could demonstrate working smarter and not harder. I somehow managed to talk gravity into doing most of the heavy lifting for us this evening.
Airing out the feet. They've been wet for the last 3 days. So
it's good to dry them out just a little bit.
Feels good, man.
All right, so when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you don't have a bunch of kitchen supplies, so we just picked one random seasoning we liked, hauled it out here, and then we could have just used flour, but we thought we were gonna make biscuits, ended up not doing that. So you can use this as flour as well. And then we just take that, mix it all together in a bag or whatever you got. Then we'll toss our trout in here, mix them up, toss them over the fire, and they'll be pretty good.
boys.
I cook them till they're pretty crispy because I like the skin to be a little crunchy.
Well, they'll see.
It tastes good.
Yeah, it's the best.
Heading back to our streamside refrigerator, Kowalski got to re-washing each and every fish. And even though we did this at the lake, they still can produce a fair amount of slime after the fact. But now squeaky clean, it was time for a dredge in our batter mix. And again, this is simply biscuit mix and Cajun seasoning in a plastic bag. And since we had the fire ripping for the better part of an hour now, our bed of coals was red hot and giving off a lot of heat. Camp Chef Kowalski found that 3 was the magic number in this situation, and with the heat, it didn't take very long to crisp up each batch on both sides.
Oh, bro, those look perfect.
Words cannot describe the true bliss that a meal like this brings. Chick-fil-A would be the closest thing I could describe to what these fish tasted like.
Damn, those boys are turning out spicy.
Those are crispy.
These crispy little brook trout nuggets were cooked and devoured well into the evening as we shared stories and laughed. And we both had a very strange sensation at the end of it all. The feeling of our bellies actually being full before bed.
Dirtbag level 11?
I didn't know you were chill like that.
Menacing clouds were looming in the distance, and we both figured it was time to wrap up our camp chores and retreat to the tent.
Well, if you can hear that pitter patter, that's a wee bit of rain.
It's wet.
It's a little wet. So we've ducked into the tent a little bit early, put everything away, the fire's out, and we did it, man, another day.
Yeah, I think timing was kind of perfect today as far as how everything went.
Yeah, could have been much better.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Going for gold yet again tomorrow, so we'll see you in the AM. Good morning.
What's up?
The struggle to get out is it's real right now. It's too warm and comfy.
It's very cold outside.
But we gotta go, man. Come on.
We gotta go catch fish.
Getting up was slow. Very, very slow. This was by far one of our colder starts here in the winds, and we were very much sleepwalking through our morning chores. That is, until we heard the strange hum of engines that snapped our attention to the tree line.
Hey, you hear that? That's a helicopter somewhere. What is it? Is it a fire thing? What I'd be more worried about is fires we can't see.
While our friendly chipmunk neighbor was at it again, shuffling through camp looking for some scraps, we exchanged uneasy explanations. We were both a bit spooked by the helicopter sighting, especially this far out, and with it being so far away, it was kind of hard to tell what cargo it was carrying. Was it just stocked fish, or was it water or sand for a potential fire? And with no sign of smoke or fire in the area, we had no reason to believe that there was an active burn heading our direction, but still, it's not something you want to risk. And with a bit of apprehension, we still stuck to the original game plan and decided to trudge back up the trail.
Something tells me you're right. Get too warm.
So right about now, I'm starting to feel my hamstring. Where it's like, ooh, ow. That's where it's just starting. Well, it's like 10 minutes of stretching gives me an hour of hiking. Wow. That's incredible.
Looks like we got it all to ourselves.
That's a big boy.
No, I literally think I threw fishing yesterday right there.
It was a relief to know that the fish were still very active here at this first lake. Both quality and quantity were just a stone's throw away off the bank. We just needed to find that right fly to make them bite.
God, dude, that's a tank.
Yeah, it's not a bad fish.
It's a great fish.
I don't know if they can see the little one. They certainly can see the big one.
So I fumbled to get the second rod rigged up. Kowalski, he wasted no time. Just a little ways down the bank, he strip set into the first golden of the day, and we could rest easy knowing the skunk was officially off.
You on?
All right, first one of the morning. We got a nice little golden.
Gorgeous.
So,
You see him back?
let's let him go.
Okay.
These things are just so gorgeous up here.
This might yield better results.
So so.
There we go.
Fish on. Oh, net. Oh, look at the color on him.
Yep. That's my first golden of the day. Nice to get up here early, even though we took the wrong trail at first. That's a beauty. Wow.
Let's let him back.
Yep.
My first fish swam back, and we were both a bit puzzled by the trend we were noticing. Both of our fish were more inclined to eat our flies directly off the bottom of the lake.
Oh my gosh, he almost just picked it up off the bottom.
As I said, that's what he did with mine. He picked mine off the bottom.
Oh, this one almost did too. Wow, that's crazy. Maybe they're used to picking stuff off the bottom.
The only thing is I don't know what they're eating off the bottom.
Yeah, all sorts of bugs and stuff.
Keeping that weird tendency in mind, it didn't take long after, but off camera, I managed to hook up with yet another phenomenal golden.
Oh, damn. That's a good fish.
That tank.
It's a big old fish right there. Not a bad way to start the morning. Going for gold. I think we got it. Ready to see him back?
Yeah.
Well, there we go, man.
Hell yeah, brother.
At this point in the morning, we had well exhausted the outlet stream, and it was time to look for greener pastures. Making our way around the spook schools of golden trout, we found a rather productive point with a fair amount of fish activity. Like the day before, we decided to split up and try the old spot and stalk technique. From way up high, Kowalski had an amazing vantage point and could see a fair number of fish cruising by. Again, he did an amazing job of directing my cast, but for whatever reason, they had no interest in what we were throwing.
Seems to be where a majority of them are. Right where it turns dark blue. Oh, he's looking at it. Oh, he turned around.
I'm sure it goes without saying because my tone is quite negative, but this started to get quite frustrating after a while. With this many schooling fish, hooking up after that many casts, it kind of felt like a fluke.
It's a nice little fish.
Not bad. See ya.
And as if they were taunting us, the fish continued to buzz by our position and continued to ignore our measly offerings. As disappointing as this may be, that's just a part of this kind of fishing. So instead of throwing our rods into the water and cursing the sky, we doubled back to our original outlet spot and gave it a few more honest casts.
Out of curiosity, I'd like to try like a black streamer and then a red streamer.
The morning bite must have fully burned off by now because Kowalski cast it into the wind with not so much as a look. It certainly sucks to pull the plug this early, but we were both ready for plan B.
Oh, he took it too.
I think he took it.
No, he broke it off.
Yeah, he took it.
Damn. I yanked it so hard that I broke his face.
Yeah, I broke it right off. Well, we can see a ton of fish down there. They're all stacked up, but the morning bite has it's died down, I would say.
Yeah, we got a lot of looks at the beginning and a few catches, and now we're not getting any looks at all.
Yeah, so instead of getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, I think we're gonna go to a plan B for Brookie. We're just gonna go whoop up on some brooks, head back to camp for a bit, and then make our way over. So thank you, Mr. Golden Trout. This was epic.
We both didn't realize it at the time, but we were leaving the Golden Trout Lakes for good. So I think at this point it might be worth mentioning how we even found these lakes in the first place. And I'd mentioned this a little bit earlier on in a golden trout history breakdown, but this species of trout is coveted by those who chase them, especially us dirty fly anglers. And I found that there's not a whole lot of tight lines around this subject. It happens to be a bunch of crusty old tight lips. And to any of you purists out there, keep in mind that as majestic as the Goldens may be, they are a recreational resource at the end of the day. So keep blowing out those pictures and tagging "Keep the West Wild, bro." I swear, the virtue around fishing, it can put me in an absolute tailspin sometimes, but I'm gonna do my best to keep my feelings out of this. To remain as objective as possible, golden trout are here in Wyoming because there is a clear demand from the public to fish for them. Because of this, state agencies like Wyoming Game and Fish want you to know about the resource they provide for you. After all, your tax dollars are the ones making this whole dog and pony show go. For this trip, I found that it was extremely easy to find a handful of lake chains just off some major trailheads here in the Wind River Range. I'm not kidding when I say, after a few lazy keystrokes on the old Google machine, I had a solid set of options. And if Google somehow fails you, which it shouldn't, searching keywords directly on the Wyoming Game and Fish website is extremely beneficial as well. Once you find some names of lakes or drainages, you can further narrow down your possibilities by searching the stocking data over the past 9 years or so, because remember, the overwhelming majority of these fish are stocked, and an old golden trout will be around 9 or 10 years old. Now I know what you're thinking. You say, "Hey Mike, can books help?" And I mean, sure. Well Mike, what about articles? Again, yeah, great. Some articles can be very helpful, but keep in mind that date and time is very important. Fires and fish kills constantly ruin fisheries, and stocking schedules can shift. If worse comes to worse, you can always call the local game agent or fisheries biologist, and they can try their best to help you. After all, that is kind of their job. But to any and all watching, trust me when I say, waiting for some crusty old timer or stuck-up purist to tell you their secret spot, it's not worth it. Do some surface level research, toss some dots on the map, and start rucking months in advance. Because at the end of the day, information, that is not your barrier to entry when it comes to catching golden trout here in the Wind River Range. It is your physical shape and really your tolerance for suffering. I could spin you a long yarn about the months of training we both did in order to properly prepare for something of this magnitude. Now, I certainly don't want to be preaching, so I'm going to jump off my soapbox. And in order to remain fully transparent, I've linked all the information I used to prep and plan for this adventure in the description below. So go check it out once this video is over. Websites, articles, and all. But that's enough on logistics. Let's get back to the story.
Like noon?
At latest, like 3.
Give him the latest, okay, 3.
Just depending, like, depending how your leg holds up,
Yeah.
how toasted we are. The pace might be slower.
Yeah. 10 feet and just kind of keep going.
I have to be honest, it's a tad melancholy thinking that this would be our last time seeing this lake. Our time here was well over the halfway mark, but I did my best to push that thought out of my mind for the time being. The day was still long, and from the looks of the clouds overhead, we were in for an eventful evening.
Clouds are looking a little suspicious.
Making our way back to camp, Kowalski and I both agreed that that was the last thing we wanted to see looming over the mountains.
Made it back to camp. We're going to restock on a few things, and I'm going to go fill us up with some water before the next one. Clouds are getting more and more suspicious. But luckily where we're going is not too terribly far from base camp, so if it does start raining, we'll be aight.
We didn't waste any time, and it didn't take long to switch up rigs and hit the trail yet again.
No, never. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Backtracking our way to the Brook Trout Lake was pretty much a breeze at this point because we both knew there was a series of well-maintained game paths that ran right up to the lakeshore itself.
Don't worry, I have my GoPro on.
All right, so going for gold was officially a success. Fishing kind of slowed down there, so we moved over to our little Brook Lake. So Mike's already got one, had another bite. So we're gonna see how many we can catch today, because we got like the whole rest of the day to go. Maybe we'll hit 100. I don't know. We'll see.
100 fish in a day might seem like a stretch, but if there was anywhere you're gonna get the job done, it is an isolated Brook Trout Lake here in the Wind River Range. And let me tell you, I got off to a rather hot start.
And that's 4.
Chunky boy.
Chonky monkey?
Yeah, he's a chunky monkey.
Well, there's 5. That's my bad on the camera work there.
There's number 5. Chunky little brookie. Making us walk. Making us exert energy.
He's a floppy boy.
He's flopping good.
Look at him. Look at him flop. It's a good looking fish.
Yeah, it's a nice fish.
The first 7 fish came with relative ease, and even when we thought the lake had calmed down a bit and it was time to move, we just needed to cast in the opposite direction, and there was usually a brook trout hiding there.
Oh, he's so pretty.
It wasn't too soon after we moved down the bank, I bagged number 9, and then eventually number 10. This pace was starting to get toxic.
Well, it's a long fought journey. After much hard work and determination,
Got number 10.
we finally got number 10. That's a great shot.
He's cute. His little red fins are nice. Number 10. Thank you. All right. Your turn.
All right, we're gonna switch around now. I'm gonna try to catch 10. Oh, yep, I got a fish on. These little boy.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Great fish. Number 1.
All right. Oops. There he goes.
You go. Nice.
The baton was passed, and Kowalski wasted no time.
Hey.
Heyo.
Clearly, these fish didn't remember us from yesterday, and they didn't care at all what flies we were using. I'm not kidding when I say I probably had 2x tippet on both of the rods we were using, and they were still crushing almost every cast. 4 more fish were quickly added to our total, but menacing clouds gave our fishing fervor a bit of pause.
That just kind of popped up on us, didn't it? Well, this backpack's waterproof to an extent.
No, it's not like it took us very long to get up here.
I know, but feel the way the wind's blowing?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be going towards us.
Well, come over here and look up at it.
Hey, dude, that looks terrible.
Yeah, I'm on number 5, by the way.
I think our challenge might get cut short, buddy.
These clouds do not look very nice. We're gonna kind of play it by ear, but it might be coming right at us, so this brookie challenge might be short-lived. We moved down the shore and were able to find a few more, but these pan-sized brookies, they were not going to be enough to make us risk this nasty storm.
Nice. Nice little brookie. What is that, number 6, 7?
Yep.
So, good bud. Bye, friend.
Starting to get a little bit of rain. Little bit. Yeah, I think we're pushing our luck here, buddy.
Yeah. We probably, that looks really dark over there.
Yeah, we're pushing our luck.
Well, the mountains tend to be unpredictable, but that up there is, there's no question. That is a big rainstorm. It's a swell coming through. We can't quite tell how long it's going to be here or to what severity.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty dark and it's not really something we want to play with out here.
No, and we're already getting spit on, so we can always come back. This is close enough, so let's rally this and get back to camp.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't care. It's gonna be to the right. Yeah. Here, this works right here, right here. Oh, dude. Oh, we're about to get pummeled. Holy shit. Oh, that's bad. All right, there's our clearing. We're almost there. Looks like this got rain here.
It did. Well, we made it back to camp. Looks like camp got a little wet. That really scary part of the storm we were worried about has kind of passed. It's still kind of scattery around us, so we're gonna wait.
Yeah.
See what it does. And then yeah, once we have an hour
Better
or two.
confirmation, yeah.
Yeah, once we have an hour or two of sunshine, then we'll head back to the lake. It's not that far. So yeah, better safe than sorry, because
These mountain storms are unpredictable.
yeah, and that nasty part that just missed us, it was pretty heavy wind. Or pretty heavy rain.
Yeah, well, wind too, probably.
Heavy wind, heavy rain, really thundery. You could see it on the other side of the mountains too, all the rain coming down. So we didn't want to be in that mess there.
Nope.
So yeah, we'll give it a little bit and then head back out.
You can at least eat lunch.
Yeah.
Hiking in with this stuff behind us. Dude, what a confidence killer that would be. You're like, oh my gosh.
Anyone that's hiking into this today?
Yeah, that's trouble. All right. Cheers to the 100th Cliff Bar.
Okay, it's been about 20 minutes. It's pretty dark all around us. It's starting to open up a little bit back there, but there's still one more cell you can kind of see cresting over the mountain. It is a good thing we came down because we can actually see the valley of the lake we were in, and it got hammered. Good thing we moved off.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of a waiting game. We're kind of like right in the middle of a bunch of like pretty dark cells. So just gonna wait a little longer. It's pretty close.
It was like right there. The lightning was insane, dude.
So we can tell that it's raining because we can hear the rain. So it's definitely raining right now.
We're stuck for a bit. Well, I had to get out to pee, and come to find out, it's raining and hailing. Very cool mountains, very cool. Damn. Yeah, I think we're gonna be held up in the tent for a little while longer. Freaking hailing out.
Something I find folks don't talk nearly enough about on backcountry adventures like this is that boredom can be one of your biggest enemies. When the elements are fighting you hard, talking shit and sleeping is about all you can do to pass the time.
So update, it's been a while.
Couple hours.
It's been like a couple hours. It's still raining. There's not much we can do. It's hailing, it's raining.
They're telling campfire stories.
Telling campfire
just without
stories.
the campfire.
Yeah, it sucks.
So while we do that, this would be an ideal time to discuss something Kowalski and I practice almost religiously out here, and that would be bear safety. Perfect. Okay. Well, my first question would be, what is the bear density, specifically grizzlies? Do you guys have many down in that drainage? One sighting?
Gotcha.
10-4. No, that makes sense. Just trying to do my due diligence because I do plan on doing some backcountry backpacking and bear safety and, you know, all that jazz. So, not that black bears are any less scary than grizzlies, it's just grizzlies are actually real monsters walking around in the woods, you know? Of course, we always do our best to hang up any food or toiletry items far away from camp that could potentially entice a bear in the area. And another thing we like to do is create a small perimeter with paracord and jingle bells. Now, this one might be slightly extra, but it does wonders for peace of mind. And I think the most important thing that we have for bear safety overall is the bear spray itself. And here's a quick demonstration for any and all out there who may be unfamiliar with this tool. Here we have a simulated bear spray can, and this is simply pressurized water that has a similar effect to the real deal. Overall, it is a pretty simple contraption. The two main parts come down to the safety and the trigger. Once you remove the safety, the trigger will become loose and ready to discharge. Now I gotta say, you have to press down fairly hard on the trigger, but once you do, there will be a slight kick. It's nothing too substantial, but hopefully this allows you to see the overall distance and spread of what you're working with here. On this particular trip, we didn't have any bad interactions with bears, but it certainly doesn't mean they can't happen. And since I've personally been attacked and had to use bear spray before, I know that it works and I put a lot of trust into it. But I'm quite sure I'm preaching to the choir, and that's quite enough on bear safety.
It starts raining on you. All right, so it's now a little after 4 o'clock. It's getting a little too late to try to go back out fishing, that's for sure. And there's definitely a lot more rain coming. We're just kind of at a little break right now in the rain, so what we're gonna do is get some water, get some food, and get ready for this next session of rain, I guess, because we're not escaping it today.
We buckled down and got right to work boiling and cooking our food rations for the night, and we kind of lucked out because before the jet boiled finished up, the rain was already starting to come down again.
All right, rain's coming back. We're gonna get a little bit of food we made put away and get back in the tent.
Gonna have a little breakfast in bed, yay!
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get like a 5-minute break to actually boil some water so we could make dinner. But
That's all we got.
As soon as we finished boiling, the rain just started coming back down. So it's actually pretty cool. You can see all the way across the valley. You can just see just this big wall of rain coming. So we're gonna get smashed here in a second.
Yep.
So
But at least we have food.
at least we got food, and we're pretty much ready if the rain doesn't want to let up the rest of the night. So, well, see you tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
Keeping track of time was tough at this point, and after dinner, we laid back down in anticipation of darkness. But by some mountain miracle, the pitter-patter, it just seemed to stop. We knew this might be our only opportunity to make a fire.
Cotton balls dipped in petroleum jelly.
The ultimate fire starter.
The ultimate fire starter. Super lightweight. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
So yet again, in a rush, we gathered up some of the dry wood we'd stashed away from earlier and built a quick fire teepee.
Just gonna let it do its thing.
Once we got the little six blazing, we added our big wet logs in the hopes to dry them out and eventually catch fire.
Such a good fire right now. That fire feels nice.
Oh, that's nice.
This gas on dry for real right there.
LOL at our attempt to dry out clothes. It just rained more. So I know I said we'd be rolling B-roll, but I gotta stop you for a second and maybe pay homage to the freaking mosquitoes here. Like, it's been raining this whole time. Mosquitoes, still terrible. Even while we were outside in the rain, you know, during those little rain breaks, mosquitoes just everywhere, just destroying us. You know, this is the first time I've worn shorts the entire time here. And I'm just getting eviscerated right now. Yeah,
We need the smoke.
the mosquitoes are no joke. They're ridiculous. Someone could just like delete mosquitoes. I'd pay like $5 or something. I don't know. It's like all I got. So, yeah, mosquitoes suck. Don't do them.
So while we both continued to fight the battle against these relentless mosquitoes, we continued on with camp activities while we still had the time. Kowalski went to the creek to fill up some water and say hi to his brook trout friend, while I managed the fire and did my best to stretch out my sore hamstring.
Yeah, stretch that hammy. Stretch it good. 'Cause you have to carry all the shit tomorrow. I mean, we napped pretty much all day, so we can actually chill.
For a while.
It certainly seemed like our night was taking a turn for the better. That is, until my Garmin gave us a disturbing ring.
Well, it's nice being disconnected for, you know, a group of days. I think it's been like 5, but it's nice having a lifeline. And as meat hang is nearing its end, we just got some pretty interesting news. So my folks let me know that there is going to be some unpredictable weather coming in, especially to this valley, kind of what we saw this afternoon. And, you know, we caught a lot of fish this morning. We were kind of getting the ball rolling this afternoon, and then we've been basically dead since. And if we're looking at another day tomorrow just like that, you know, we've come to the Wind River Range for a certain reason, to get golden trout. The bonus brookies, I mean, that was awesome, but we've accomplished really everything that we wanted to, and right now we're weighing out the risk. There's a lot of, I guess, risk with either trying to camp another night in rain or to hike out and avoid it. So yeah, these are nice to have. Again, no free shout out to Garmin, but it's nice having a line, and I think we're gonna do some planning tonight, and we might hike out tomorrow. Well, after quite a bit of deliberation between Kowalski and I think the final verdict is that we are hiking out tomorrow. But that means we have a bunch of food left. This is about 2 days of rations left. This is gonna be all for the hike out. We've got plenty of Cliff Bars. We've got plenty of energy and hydration supplements left over that we're just gonna try and pop to get us that rocket fuel to get us up and off the mountain. But that leaves us with a couple other items. Some extra stuff for tonight. This is all about weight off our backs. We're not gonna eat it tomorrow. We're gonna cook it tonight, get it off, but we do have one last peak meal, and this is our safety line. So if everything goes wrong and we make it halfway off the mountain and we're just zooted, this will be our last night's cook to at least get some energy back in us so we can limp off the mountain Saturday morning. Things are moving quick, things are moving fast, and that's just, I don't know, that's just meat hang. But we gotta roll with the punches and take the risk, you know, in the right way, and I think this is the right decision. So yeah, let the packing and planning begin.
So while the fire kept smoldering away, we got to packing up as best as we could. But before we finished up, I made sure to put on one last pot of boiling water for an evening treat.
You know, it might seem a little dumb to be drinking coffee this late, but English Coffee, they sent over a bunch of these, they call them dry droppers, really easily packable coffee. And I mean, to warm your bones on a chilly, wet evening like this, I mean, doesn't get much better than that. And for real, huge shout out to you guys because they sent it over for free. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Coffee and the rest of the rations were enjoyed well into the evening as the fire slowly petered out. It was really nice to stretch out the legs a bit because we both knew bedtime was approaching fast.
Well, we made it into the tent. This is your last ugly mug nightly update before we descend the mountain and get the heck out of here. So we've got an early morning planned, and yeah, it should be terrible. So we might die.
It's gonna be a long one tomorrow. You're gonna see us complaining a lot in this next montage.
Or just not talking at all. Or both.
Mostly complaining. Mostly complaining.
Yeah, sorry in advance. Good night.
Morning.
We're trying to get packed up.
We both managed to find a bit of shut-eye before the alarm started blaring and the rest of our packing needed to be completed.
Now I sit down when I pee sometimes.
Doesn't make me less of a man.
Because I sit down when I pee.
All right, here we are. End of the meat hang here, at least. It's time to get off the mountain, get to hiking, and hopefully not die.
Yeah, we're gonna complain a lot the next couple hours, so just bear with us.
Let's go.
Let's go. We got everything? Did you pack the tent?
Did we bring it that?
Wet and cold, that is how our morning started. The dew, it still clung tight to all the foliage along the trail, and the puddles, they still held very firm from the deluge we received yesterday. It made this hike pretty dang miserable, but the silver lining here is that the landscape around us was glowing in the morning light, which made for quite the scene. And almost like a good omen, we finally saw our first big critter of the trip. This moose, he was soaking up the sun and enjoying a very soggy breakfast, and I must say, I found myself slightly envious of this long-legged ungulate as Kowalski and I approached our first of many creek crossings of the day.
Doing some adjustments to the bag, but honestly, so far, we're vibing. It's not bad yet.
Not bad yet.
No complaints yet.
Incredible. Holy cow. See, I figured in that field is where you'd see the moose.
Kind of sucks. I had my shoes tied at like the perfect tightness.
Sure.
All right. Well, we're at a river crossing right here, so switched up to our sandy boys. Now it's time to get wet.
I just got squished. Big old thing of mud. Feels good, man.
The sun was up, but the air still held quite the chill, so that, mixed with the cold water, was yet another rude awakening on the day.
Well, that's the uphill. Time to jet fuel up and start the ascent.
This is where we become heroes or zeros.
All right, we've reached a pivotal part in the trip. This is jet fuel time. So we got ourselves another Cliff Bar. We ate breakfast, but we need something in our stomachs because we are about to put 200 milligrams of pure caffeine goodness and another liquid IV because we know the uphill is coming up soon. This is where we napped, close to the creek, but we're gonna be losing major water for the next
Probably 3 hours.
1,000, 2,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a while till we see water or get another chance to stop. So gonna give ourselves some energy, some hydration, and be ready to grind.
And it's game time. This is game time.
This is what we've been dreading all week.
All right, let's go.
Do you wanna jet fuel first?
Sure. Ooh, tastes like electricity, baby. Woo!
And so it began. The dreaded uphill battle from a few days prior was now the resistance keeping us from salvation. For these kind of hike outs, I will usually put on some sort of music just as motivation. And it may seem a bit cheesy because we're out here to enjoy the silence of nature, but believe me when I say that music makes a massive difference when it comes to pure performance. The goal, it was to get off this mountain, so we let our favorite band, Dance Gavin Dance, propel us up these ever-growing switchbacks.
Favorite music playing in the background right now? Absolutely crushing this uphill. I mean, we're hurting a little bit, but we just might make it. I don't know. We'll check it in like 10 minutes, see if we're dead or not.
Vibes are good.
But right now, yeah, vibes are good.
We did our best to avoid any and all unnecessary creek crossings, and not only would changing shoes slow us down, but wet feet are just so damn uncomfortable.
That was close, but we did it.
But with every bridge we passed, the stops seemed to get a little more and more familiar. My memory isn't great, but I can recognize certain spots and clearings from our hike a few days prior. I would hate to jump the gun in saying this, but it really seemed like we were getting close.
I still got like 80%.
Okay. When we stop up here, we'll get it.
Yeah, editing skills now versus dead. Oh, light years. You know? Light years. Like, not that your editing skills are them or bad, but it's just that's what it takes. When you have no experience, that's just what it takes. Like, they're so much better now. Sir?
That's something else, man. We did it.
I don't know if you guys can see that thing in the background, but this morning we were on the other side of it. So,
folks, we promised more complaining, but yeah, it ended up not happening.
Our pace was absolutely toxic up this mountain. We still got to go all the way back down the other side.
But it's all downhill.
But it's all downhill. The hard part is out of the way.
Now, here's the question. Was our pace more toxic or is our smell more toxic? Because
they're both bad.
We are absolutely rank. 5 days of gooning.
Yeah.
Absolutely gooning, but you can kind of see the clouds accumulating. I think we made the right call.
Yeah, the weather looks pretty sus. You can see some rain clouds in the back, especially over the valley where we were.
Nah.
So I think, you know, making the call to leave, go home now, was probably the right move. I mean, we accomplished way more than we ever figured we would, so.
But we're not done yet, and there's no rest for the wicked, so let's keep going.
Yeah, see you at the bottom. Can't do this to us. We just like walk out.
He's gonna love all our DGD references. Yeah, he was talking to me about it.
Cresting the final uphill was a massive boost to our overall morale. We were feeling good and flying down this mountain.
I don't know, we got like 3 miles left. Rain's actually starting to roll in, so.
Bad news bears.
Bad news bears, but we're almost there, man. We can power through.
Yep.
As long as we don't get struck by lightning, tornadoes, or bears, we should make it.
Or tornado bears.
Or tornado bears. We are in Wyoming, so.
Who knows?
For you guys that haven't been there, tornado bears are legitimately a thing, and I'm not making that up. I swear.
I can see the campsite. We're so close.
Quiet for the tornado bears, though.
You can maybe tell our minds had long been lost at this point, but our bodies were holding up surprisingly well. The literal torture we had just put them through probably wouldn't be felt until days later, because another adrenaline boost got pumped through our veins when we saw the clouds looming over the horizon.
Barely missing the storm.
It was very clear that another storm was nipping at our heels, but luckily for us, the parking lot was now well within sight. We had officially made it off the mountain.
Alright, moment of truth. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. This is too wild.
Well, timing was pretty good. We made it to the truck. We got changed, cleaned up a little bit, and it's
raining.
It's raining. I don't know if you can see or not. Probably not.
Here.
Yeah, starting to rain. So pretty smart move, I guess, of us bouncing out, because I think, you know, we were seeing it on the mountains all day. That rain moving in, so
We would have been so messed up.
yeah, we would have just wasted a whole day on the mountain had we stayed. So
But now we have an extra day.
have an extra day, so I don't know, we might go fishing, might go get some waffles, we'll see.
I'm
Definitely
glad you brought that up.
Definitely gonna go get some waffles. All right, we'll see you.
For those of you out there who have experienced a trip like this, you may understand, and to those unfamiliar, forgive me while I do my best to describe this feeling. Kowalski and I, we both worked so damn hard to make this happen. And, you know, outside of the basic stuff like research and logistics, physically and mentally, we were pushed well beyond our limits. And to think that our round trip ended up pushing past 65 miles in just 5 days, it absolutely blows my mind. And all on slim rations and the risky hope of fish supplementation. And despite the threat of bipolar mountain weather and an unforgivable landscape, we accomplished every single goal we'd set out for this trip. Goals, I might add, that we had both set out months in advance and did everything in our power to manifest. Weekly calls for the better part of 5 months went into packing, planning, and hoping for the success of Meat Hang 2022. So for it all to be over just like that, it seems a bit strange. We both managed to find some truly once-in-a-lifetime fish, all while surrounded by views that many will never get to see with their own eyes. We are so lucky to be able to do this, and even luckier to be able to share our experiences with folks like you. It may seem a bit odd, and again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm left a bit melancholy describing this to you right now. And it's not really in a bad way. These kind of trips, they always feel like that wild summer love that burns hot and it burns fast. And again, forgive me if I'm being too romantic, but this kind of trip, it's star-crossed from the beginning, and somehow it slips through your hands like sand. And in the moment, nothing feels more real, but it passes away so quick. I think Kowalski and I can both agree that we wouldn't give this trip up for the world. But realistically, the only way either of us will ever make it back to those incredible lakes is somewhere in our dreams. Folks, thank you so much for sticking around and watching Meat Hang 2022 all the way to the end. We both put an immense amount of work into the planning, the filming, and the editing of this, it's a video, film trip, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, this isn't professional by any means, but we did our best to take you with us and maybe feel some sort of fraction of what we experienced. And again, I would hate to feel like I'm repeating myself, but a trip like this would not be possible without your support. So, to any and all out there, be it through Patreon or just your support through YouTube, all I have to say is thank you. Your support truly means the world, and as silly as it may sound, it allows us to make more stuff like this. Camera gear, backpacking supplies, and gas, it sure can get pricey. So just know that anything made is being reinvested into trips like this to try and make a better product. And to all the presenting sponsors who have taken a chance on us, the sentiment is the same. And just so that you know out there, I trust every single one of these brands wholeheartedly, and I wouldn't promote them otherwise. But that is quite enough. Folks, as always, wherever you find yourself, be it in the wilds of the Wind River Range or in your backyard, make sure to keep those feet in the water. And until next time, tight lines.
Dead.
Good game, sir. This was a good game.
We made it.
We made it.
We made it. It's time for a shower and a nap and a lot of junk food.
And all the junk food.
All the junk food.
All the junk food.
Thanks for tagging along, guys. So Mike will probably narrate some more stuff, but yeah.
This was a fun one.
Peace out for me. See you guys.